Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Robert Barr, and I'm delighted that you're sharing this Shabbat service with me and with each other. A chance for us to pause, to catch our breath, to gain some perspective on where we've been and where we're going, because we are living in incredibly hectic and challenging time. This is a chance for us just to decompress for a moment. For the days flow into one another without interruption. Time races on. The Sabbath is our means to divert time, a stepping off point, pausing with friends and loved ones to observe, then rejoice in the wonder-filled coincidence of living. There can be a sense of pleasure in every given breath, blessed with taste to savor and warmth to give and to receive, bestowed with gifts of sight and sound we are obliged to cherish and revel in each smile, in every musical note. The Sabbath also awakens us to the silence between notes. It speaks of contemplation, the quiet delight of literature, of unhurried walks, of rare conversations. The Sabbath can be our interlude, our ritual pause in this lively current, our signal to step more lightly, to appreciate more profoundly, to dive more deeply into the questions that life is asking. Again, I'm Rabbi Robert Barr of Congregation Beth Adam, our bricks and mortar congregation, and our Jewish community, our online congregation. Two sides of the very same coin. We've been streaming services at our Jewish community for over a decade. We began and we were reaching out to people around the world who found our voice of Judaism that we give expression to at Congregation Beth Adam meaningful. They wanted to hear it and learn more about it. So we began to use the technology of the internet to do that. But in this age of COVID, the technology has become ever more important. So many of us are spending so much more time on our computers, Zooming with one another, Skyping. But it's more than just being able to see one another. It's also an affirmation that we are part of something larger than ourselves. We're part of a community. And you're part of that community, whether you're watching at 6 o'clock or you're watching it later in our archives. Because this is what we're about. We've been building a community at Congregation Beth Adam for 40 years, a congregation that gives voice to a bold, dynamic Judaism that recognizes we're not like our ancestors. They couldn't conceive of what we're doing at this very moment. Not only just the technological part, but they couldn't understand a bold Judaism that's no longer tied just to tradition. It's about creativity, understanding that change is the very constant within Judaism, recognizing that no divine hand will rescue us from the problems that we ourselves have created. That's what we've been teaching and talking about at Congregation Beth Adam for 40 years. That's what you're part of right now as part of this streaming service on our Jewish community in Beth Adam. We come together to give voice to all of that. I'm pleased that you're here. You can chat during these services, whether on our Facebook pages or on our website. When you do chat, please be welcoming and inclusive. Let us know where you're participating from. It's meaningful to know that. I'm so glad you're here, that together we can share this time, affirming our values and our ideas. So at this point, we're going to light the Shabbat candles. The candles stand before us, waiting to meet the flame, longing to share their warmth, ready to shed their light. Like those who came before us, like all people, we find comfort and fear in flame, endless swirl of fascination, mystery and awe. Like those who came before us, like all people, we are graced with the desire and the will to understand. So we continue our ancestors' search for answers, pushing away the darkness of ignorance. The flames they saw as magic and beyond comprehension became flames of knowledge and of hope. But still we look with wonder, inspired by their beauty and power. We embrace the flames of Shabbat. We embrace the light, our vessel of mystery and understanding. As we light our Shabbat candles, we celebrate our journey, our quest, our moments of peace. May the light of our people shine. May the light of Shabbat cast us warmth in our homes. May these candles burn with respect for all who push beyond the bonds of ignorance, for all who seek justice, for all who build community. May these candles burn with memory of all who came before us. May we draw on the many ways our people have given voice to their ideas and values. And may we add our insight into the glow. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or b'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. That was interesting. These matches, they do mysterious things sometimes. So on Rosh Hashanah morning, Rabbi David Burstein shared with us a talk in which he explored meditation, contemplative practice. I asked him to continue that conversation with us tonight. So this is a conversation he and I recorded earlier about what he began to explore and now explores more deeply with us now. So, David, Rosh Hashanah is over. We're in the Shabbat in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And for your talk, you talked about mindfulness and meditation, and that each day through the period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is typically this 10-day period known as the Days of Awe, you're posting meditations. And I thought we'd just take some time on this Shabbat, this in-between Shabbat, to talk about meditation and contemplative practice, and what drew you to it, how you found it, how you discovered it, how it touches you, and a little bit more. I mean, one of the things we did do for both of our talks is we wanted to keep them brief to keep our services. and so I know there was much more. You kept on cutting, so I wanted to give you some chance
on the cutting room floor. That's right.
Cutting room. It's tough. Your best scene is on the cutting room.
I know.
But talk about it and help us understand meditation even better than we do from what you explained to us on Rosh Hashanah.
I'd be glad to. Yeah, so I talked about in Rosh Hashanah about mindfulness practice, really focusing on basic mindfulness that I learned probably 20, 25 years ago, looking for something to kind of settle myself, to connect myself to my Judaism, originally just to connect myself to breathing and relaxation, and then moved into kind of Jewish meditation as I kind of moved along. But mindfulness practice is really three parts, which I talked about in the sermon. One is that you stay in the present moment, so you're not going in the future and the past. Like, you're trying to stay in the present moment without judgment, which is really hard for us, especially as Jews, I think, to not judge ourselves on how well we're doing.
And as human beings.
And as human beings. That's right. So both Jews and human beings, or Jewish human beings. So there's the ability to kind of do it without judgment, like, am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? It's really the basic understanding of breathing. And then the last one is like your life depends on it. And I didn't get really to expand that point as much. That was one of the cutting places. And it's really not like you're going to die if you don't do it, but it's the urgency of doing it, that it becomes a practice that you feel like you have to do every day to better yourself. And so for me, I talked about in the sermon, which is that, I've been leading meditation since the very beginning. You and I decided that I would do videos so people could follow along in this time of tumult and being stirred up. And so we've probably done 50 videos. And
there's a lot. And people can find them on our website, on bethadam.org. Under services, it says meditations, and that's where the video versions are. And you're doing podcasts, which are
We're doing
only
podcasts too, that are going to be on the website also.
Right.
And the podcasts are nice because you can do them anywhere. You don't have to be watching. But yeah, I realized that I wasn't sitting as much. I wasn't meditating as much as I usually did. And I think that's part of this kind of anxiety that I'm feeling about this time and wanting to be a lot for a lot of people. But I've used the last couple of days during this week to really kind of focus back on that practice of kind of being present and breathing. And we did basic breathing exercise during the sermon, but there's lots of different ways of being mindful. Sometimes it's doing an activity with like tunnel focus, like laser focus.
Is that like walking? People do walking meditation.
Walking meditation. They think about where their feet are going, and they might take it slowly, or it might be focusing on a single item and just really getting and looking at it. Those are other types of mindfulness, and you don't have to do it sitting on the floor. cross-legged. It's interesting. That's an Eastern practice
Right.
that was shared because many people didn't have chairs. It's like the history of it is very strange. Like, so some people like to sit on the floor, but usually I teach it that you can sit in a chair. If you lay down, it's going to become a nap, just to let you know ahead of time when you relax. No, it's like I say that every time I teach it. I'm like, you will fall asleep. Like because your body relaxes when you focus on your breathing. Even your body relaxes because when we get stressed, we breathe faster, more rapid, and more shallow. Mm-hmm. So it can slow things down. But I find that it's really helpful. I've done it with all ages. I do it with the little kids that we have. I do it with teenagers. I do it with adults. It's super accessible, and I still don't know how it works. Like, honestly, that everyone does it and they feel like a little bit better, and that's good.
Well, I remember early on when I was in college, and we talked about, it was in psychology class, about meditation. And then I took a class in stress management, and one of the things that breathing does is it tricks your body to thinking it's relaxed. Because even if you're not relaxed, if you modify your breathing and moderate your breathing to a state of relaxation, it's inverted. What happens is, even though you're anxious, now your body thinks you must be relaxed. So that was how it was explained to me.
No, I think that's a really accurate way of looking at it. I mean, it slows everything down. And, that's really what mindfulness is for me. It makes me see the world just a little bit slower. A lesson I always would teach is that you walk into a bathroom, you see sinks overflowing, the floor is flooded, there's a mop there. What do you do first? And most people start mopping the floor, which is what we learned, but you turn off the water. Like, you have to take a picture of what's going on and slow it down and then kind of move through it. So that's helpful in decision making. And just with anxiety, you're right, you trick your body into slowing it down. And by the time you realize you've tricked your body, you're actually
you're that way
focusing on something else, which is good.
So help us understand, you said when you started, you were doing sort of meditation, and then you moved into Jewish meditation. So can you help us understand what's the distinction between non-Jewish or general or whatever? What you're calling?
I think that contemplative practice is found in many different religions and many different cultures, and I think that at least in the United States, for a long time, contemplative practice came from the East. So whether it was Zen meditation or yogic meditation, like using yoga as meditation, it came from the East. And that was kind of in the 60s. It just was kind of the whole guru kind of experience. And people would go to ashrams in India and they would learn how to meditate. It's where transcendental meditation came from. We know about the Dalai Lama and Tibetan meditation and Buddhism. And Buddhism was a centerpiece of it. Now, interestingly enough, that a lot of Jews went to practice Buddhist meditation. They kept their Judaism, but they were doing Buddhist. They're called Bujus. And, and some of the biggest...
Was it Ram Dass? He was Jewish.
Ram Dass was Jewish. Sharon Salzberg. There's a bunch of other people.
Isn't it the book, The Rabbi and the Lotus? I can't think of it.
I
think who wrote that.
The name of that book. But yeah, The Jew and the Lotus, about Jews going to see the Dalai Lama and kind of talking to him. But I think it's really what it is that every tradition had a contemplative practice. So I started with what I knew, which was only from the East. So I started with Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese monk who was actually nominated by Martin Luther King for a Nobel Peace Prize during the Vietnam War. He has a place called Plum Village, which is in France, and so I started doing his studies. Just gentle breathing, peace meditations, that sort of stuff. And then I was studying to be a rabbi, and I would go out during lunch. I go outside and do this meditation, and I started to explore, what's the tradition of Jewish meditation. And there was a long tradition. It started in the 1100s.
Really?
This kind of like Merkava, which is like the chariot, like trying to get closer to God. So they did these contemplative practices. And it was pretty popular all the way through, esoterically popular. And
right. Then, you wouldn't think it wasn't mainstream.
No, it wasn't mainstream. But after the Holocaust, where large percentages of Orthodox Jews, where it was found, were killed, a lot of the teachers were also killed. So it kind of lost some pace, and it's been picked back up with kind of a little tinge of New Age and kind of like this kind of like sense of more earth-based Judaism. And, you know, I find it, I use it as a focusing tool to get me to a place where I feel comfortable opening myself up. I mean, people use chant also for the same thing. It's really an introduction. Like it's going to kickstart you to be in a place of doing something different. That's why people use it to relax before they do sports or they do a test. It's not like you're going to meditate all the way through. You're just kind of getting your body settled.
Right.
And then you move forward. You know, and it's a super important thing for me usually to do on a daily basis because I'll be better at my job and a better person and all that sort of stuff. But it's hard. It falls by the wayside. And
I think it is. I mean, it's one of those things oftentimes. I tend to run, and so I have a phone ringing in the background, which always makes it harder to be present.
We're being mindful. We're focusing on us. It's perfect.
It's okay.
And it's a great lesson, right?
Yes. So, but you know, I tend to run, and depending on my mood, you know, sometimes I'm running with listening to nothing, and I'm just thinking, and a lot of times I tend to double task. Multitask, I guess you'd say.
We do a lot of that. Running is known as a very meditative practice. I mean, a lot of runners talk about, especially long distance runners, talk about that kind of high, that kind of like
never got that.
Yeah, that's right.
I've never got.
I think it happens a lot longer than I would run, which is about a mile. So, but I think that there is something about repetitive action that's also relaxing to us. You know, so whether it's tracking your breathing. Some people like to do puzzles, and you can focus on it, and the focus part of it is the meditative part of it. You know, and in more traditional settings of Judaism, sometimes it's the prayers that people will say over and over and over and over again. It just didn't move me personally. That wasn't where I found my connection, because my sense of connection is to the earth and to kind of feel what's around me. But people go on nature walks. That's another way people do it, and really focus on the beauty of nature.
What's interesting, I do have a conversation coming up. I'll stream with the head of the Cincinnati Nature Center.
Oh, wow.
About walking.
Such a beautiful spot, by the way.
And it was interesting. And there is, he we'll explore it obviously in detail with him, but there is more people are going right now.
Yeah.
And really in these more stressful times to connect with nature. And that contemplative, I think, experience of being alone. You know, there's something meaningful, and there's a depth of feeling one can have in a beautiful place in nature. It doesn't have to be way out in the middle of nowhere. Nature can be found where it's very close to us. We tend to not see it oftentimes.
Right. I mean, I think about even we're in the bricks and mortar in Cincinnati. There are many parks and our congregation's right across the street from a lake, a beautiful lake that you can walk around. And it's just, I think about, that's the urgency part, right? Like your life depends on it. It's just going out and doing it and not being worried about whether it's right or wrong. Sometimes it's just good without judgment, just to go and do it. Do something that settles you. And also the quiet part of it I like. Sometimes I listen to music when I'm doing it because I like to play with the sounds of the music and picture it and stuff. But a lot of times it's the quiet. And especially in our world where everything's filled with noise, it's just to create space of quiet.
So you started it a long time. So in the 70s, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I started meditating probably I probably did some. Maybe mid-'80s.
Well, you said the Vietnam War, so I was trying to...
Oh, no, Thich Nhat Hanh was in the Vietnam War, not me, but yeah.
You were, because I was young, I was trying to figure out when you would have been doing it. I know you were...
I started probably mid-'80s maybe.
And do you think you've been doing it long enough, like right now, it feels like we're at a really particularly chaotic and stressful time. Has it become more important, the more chaos that's around us?
Yeah, I think so. I actually brought a little tool. Like I have a jar that I use with people, and I shake it up. There's like sparkles in it. You can see it. It's like a snow globe. And what I always tell people is this is what the world feels like right now. And what will happen eventually, I don't have to show you the whole thing, is that everything will settle to the bottom if you're still, if you don't shake it up anymore, and it settles to the bottom. And then you can kind of see what your problems are and what things are. So I use that a lot, especially with kids, to show them, like, because this is what our world feels like, is this kind of shaken place. If you can just sit still and be like, okay, what do I have control over? What do I not have control over? What affects me directly? What doesn't affect me directly? That's where, like, media, especially the internet and, like, visual media, like, we see a fire in California and we feel like it's happening right here.
Right.
And that's what they want. I mean, that's the sensation. But if you could be like, okay, like, it's not happening next door, it's not happening in my house. And again, it's just about taking time.
Well, I think that the notion too of not thinking about the past and not thinking about the future, because it's thinking.
Yeah.
I
mean, you're going to always think about it, but not to dwell in it, not to get stuck. I think, I've said that before, not to think about it, but, like, when you say, it's like saying, don't think about a pink elephant, and everybody's going to be thinking about one, like, but like, I think it's to say the past has happened and you can't change it, and the future hasn't happened and you can't change that right now. And that doesn't mean you can't plan and do all that kind of stuff, but we ping pong between these two things, and if you can just, I often say when people start meditating, there's a couple things I say. One is they're like, I'm going to meditate for 45 minutes every day. And I'm like, great, good luck with that. Like, that's a lot of meditating. I'm like, let's try meditating for 1 minute for the first week. Just 1 minute, just stop. And then you kind of slowly crank it up. And the second is they want to meditate so they can feel good or feel better. And what I tell them, you're going to feel something. It's not always good. You're going to feel whatever you're feeling at that time. And the feelings are fleeting, like, I could be feeling scared and then it kind of moves aside, or it's when we get stuck in stuff, it gets really hard to function. And I think that has been the feeling I've had over the last months, is that we've been stuck in, like, a really, like, this thing that I have that now is clear, it's just getting shaken up over and over and over again by, like, multiple sides. Like, I'll put it down and I'm like, oh, it's clear. Then someone will come on, shake it up. And I think that, again, like, if the podcasts or the videos or just I can talk to people directly, like, if we can just create a space where you can just settle it down for a minute. And it also will help to, I was thinking about I did Musar meditation. So Musar is a practice from, like, the 17th century. It's a Jewish practice of kind of focusing on virtues that you want to be better at in your life. So one is patience, one is humility. There's a bunch of them. The ones I chose were patience and humility, generosity, gratitude. If you can focus on those things and say, hey, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to say thank you to 5 people. And those missions, those, like, little missions, are also parts of meditation. Right. Getting stuff done. Liking to check off your list. Like, good. I admire you, because you're good at that. Like, you can do something and then let it go and then move on to the next thing. And that's a really good mindfulness practice.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
There you go. You're a healthy meditator.
I'm a healthy meditator. I'm a stressful healthy meditator.
No, but I think you know yourself, and as do I. I know the patterns that are going to help me bring me peace. And they're ours. They could be different for different people, but they're ours.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you're able to do it with kids. And I think a lot of times we don't realize that this is something helping kids learn to sit and decompress.
It's so important. It is. Well, it's one of the skills we're trying to teach them in our village, at our congregational school, is that they need to know this, because the world's going to come at them fast, and the ability just to slow it down and take a breath. And there's such an uptick of anxiety in kids, which makes sense. The world is much more anxious than their parents are. So if we can give them a hard skill, like, for me, it's always about competence with kids, giving them skills. Like, I can tell them that they should feel better, but if I don't show them how to do it, it's like, it's just somebody telling you to do something, which is not going to work. So we give them the actual skills. We try to meditate or do yoga with them every time they're in school, because they need it.
And regrettably, right now, not being together, we can't do it with the kids in our village the same way we did.
Yeah,
but
I meant that.
but we certainly were able to do it with the adults online.
Yeah, we have a Friday afternoon meditation, which is really only about 15 minutes. We do about 5 to 7 minutes of a breathing exercise. We check in, we make sure everybody's okay, and then we talk about what we're going to do the next week. It's just like a drop-in, because I think that's a good way to start it. And I have been doing some meditation with the kids. We're going to do more and more of that as we get going. It's hard with the screen because the screen time is tough. Right. Although I find it's interesting, I can use the screen when I do meditation classes and have people turn off their video, because people are usually self-conscious when they close their eyes, like someone's looking at them. So I just have everybody turn off their video and nobody can see you. And, sometimes I might lose someone. I have to speak a little louder on the back end to get them back on again. But, but I find that and especially for people that are alone right now, to have a voice, to have someone to talk to can kind of walk you through that. Because anxiety and fear love aloneness. They thrive on it. And, if we can just connect to each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you talking about it on Rosh Hashanah morning. For those people who did not see the service on Rosh Hashanah morning, go to bethadam.org. There's right at the top of the page right now, there's still a link that says Streaming High Holidays. You click on it, it will take you to the Streaming High Holiday page, and what you'll see is there are the archives. So there are the 2 previous services that's in the square box on the upper left-hand corner. You click on the down arrow, it drops it down, and you can watch either the evening service or the morning service, and you could listen to David's talk. What you can do, I'll tell you a secret right now. After the service is posted, you can fast forward right to the talk. You don't,
or you could fast forward through the talk if you like. Or you can
fast forward through it, either one. But you can do it so you can listen to it more than once too. You can go back.
I haven't told people that.
That's a little
fast forward through my sermon. That's my family will love that. So
I'm glad we were able to do this, and I'm glad we'll be together on Sunday night and Monday for Yom Kippur, continuing our online services and the sense of community that we've created, and that you gave us a skill and something to take away to help make the new year better at a very anxious time. We really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and it's just people can just try it, and it's okay, and just be gentle with yourself.
Sounds good. I think we all can be a little bit gentle.
I think we can be a little more gentle with ourselves.
The age we're living with, not judgmental and a little bit gentle, seems to be a really good suggestion.
There we go.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
I'll see you for Yom Kippur.
All right.
I so appreciate Rabbi Burstein exploring with us in more depth about meditation and contemplative practice. I hope that all of us can take something from what he taught us and incorporate it into our own lives. We're living in challenging and difficult times, and using those skills that he taught may help each of us find a way to find some calm and peace in the midst of the chaos. We continue our service with the sharing of the virtual challah and wine. Again, we do that as an affirmation that we are part of a community. So at this moment, we come together to welcome the Sabbath. We take pause, breathe in life, and reflect on the importance of each of our lives. We feel the touch of the spirit on the body, the warmth of fellow human beings. We embrace our uniqueness and our diversity, our capacity to create, to explore, to change our world. In the sharing of the challah, the Sabbath bread, we nourish our spirit, and we are connected with each other and with our ancestors. Baruch Hamal Kapenu, blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon Ha'adam, blessed is the vision of our minds. Baruch Lechem Haaretz, blessed is the bread of the earth. And then if you have some wine or juice, join with me. Life is a wondrous gift. The mind observes with awe, and appreciation flows from the heart. Life's joyful bounties are unveiled. Such treasures abound in ordinary moments. A familiar face, the simplicity of a smile, tender kisses, the warmth and security of a hug, enchanting melodies, the grace of dance, the coolness of sculpted marble, a remarkable story, the complexity of atomic structure, thunder's reverberation, the shimmering of the rainbow, intoxicating rose petals, These moments become opportunities to affirm that which is good as we lift the cup. A tribute to life's enchantments. May we find joy and contentment in our human endeavors. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam. Blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam. Blessed is the life within each of us. And we say, l'chaim, to life. Quickly, a couple of announcements. Yom Kippur is this coming Sunday night at 7 o'clock, our evening service at 7 p.m. Sunday. You go to bethadam.org. Right at the top of that homepage, it says, click here for streaming high holiday services. You click there. What you'll notice is that the 2 services that we streamed already for Rosh Hashanah are there. There's a little drop-down menu. You can watch them. If you've not seen them, you can watch them now. And then the service begins live at 7 o'clock. It begins streaming, and a little red light comes, or a little dot comes on. You click on that, and you can watch the service. You can chat there, or you can watch it on one of our 2 Facebook pages, our Beth Adam Facebook page or our JewishCommunity.org Facebook page. Our morning service begins at 10:30 a.m. This is all Eastern time. Our memorial services is at 4 p.m. And then our Torah study with Rabbi Burstein is at noon. But in order to participate in that, you do need a Zoom link. If you have not already gotten one, you can email me and ask me for it at rabbi@bethadam.org. If you've forgotten what I just said, go to bethadam.org, and right below where it says streaming Shabbat services, there's a place, streaming high holiday services right at the top. It'll say, click here for a high holiday schedule. You click there, it'll give you everything. Also, if you click right below that, it says Rabbi Burstein's meditation. So that he talked about meditations he's been doing through the course of between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You can find them there. They're a podcast, which means you would listen to them, not view them. And certainly you just go back and listen to all of them, even though we're nearing the end of this period of reflection. So I'm glad you shared this service with me and with each other. And we close with the words we close with each week. May we know blessings those who are near. May we know blessings those who are far. And may this day bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.